Right. Okay. Welcome back to UNETANEH TOKEF. Yeah, I can't. I can't work it on my own yet. So we're working on the old camera, but it's fine. At least we've got the nice new background.
Where is
Okay.
it? Where is it, Johnny?
I can't hear you, Johnny.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, this is going to be probably quite difficult to hear you all because it's a bit noisy here. Anyway, we are up to the last part of UNETANEH TOKEF. I'm going to share the screen with you lot so that you can actually see it. Let's see if I can get it back up for you. Oh, I had it before. I've lost it now. Give me a second to get it back up, please. We're about to finish UNETANEH TOKEF tonight, and it's a very powerful section that we're going to do tonight. Perhaps the most powerful part of it in total, which is speaks about the fragility of man. Let me get this on the screen for you. Here it is. There it is. Right. Let me go back to Zoom and let me share the screen. Okay, here we go. You should be able to see the screen, Zoomers, in a second. There it is. Okay. Right. Yeah. Jonathan, you can look in there with Leslie. Right. So we have said UNETANEH TOKEF, if we just turn back to the beginning, we spoke about the Kedushat Hayom, the holiness of the day. We described the court situation with the judge and the court clerks running around, the shofar being blown, this tremendous imagery of a court case, and we are the defendants. That was the first part. And then we spoke about Barosh Hashanah Yikatevon. We spoke about that this is a time when we are in the dock, and it's going to be decided whether we're going to be rich, whether we're going to be poor, and whether we're going to be at ease with ourselves, and whether we're not. A very bottom line prayer. There's no messing around here in that section. Utshuva, Tefilah, tzedakah, repentance, prayer, and charity can overturn the roa hagazera. It can overturn the evil decree.
Johnny, I had a nice argument with my brother over this. I said, okay, if we do repentance, if we do prayer, and if we give charity, we shouldn't be here for Yom Kippur. We've got nothing to worry about.
Then it would show that your tshuva wasn't really full on, wasn't it? If you're not going to bother with Yom Kippur.
No. I mean, we haven't got to worry.
Oh, we haven't got to worry. That's true. Yes, you're right. If you've done tshuva, tefilah, and tzedakah the way you should, then you're right. You don't have to worry. And in fact, that is one of the reasons why on Rosh Hashanah we use all our finery. We dress in our best Yom Tov clothes. We bring out all our finery. Why? Because we are so convinced of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's kindness to us that we're going to be okay, that actually we don't have to worry. So you're right, Jackie. If we do it properly, we don't have anything to worry about. The problem is, I don't know about you, I'm not always so sure that I've done it properly.
Okay.
Jonathan's okay. Yeah. Right. So
I've got something to say about that.
Yes.
When I was 17, I was here for a year and learnt some Hebrew. And when I went back to Australia in February, Rosh Hashanah came up towards the end of the year. And I decided, seeing I knew some Hebrew, I'd get a machzor and, take part in this whole procedure. And on Yom Kippur, you do all the al-chetz. And as I was reading them in Hebrew, I thought I've done that. And I came out of shul at the end of Yom Kippur firmly convinced. I can't tell you how convinced.
You won't see another year.
I'm not going to see another year. Why? Because not only did I do them last year, but I knew I was going to do them again next year. It just wasn't, on the cards that I could automatically just stop everything.
But you were wrong, weren't you?
I was so surprised the next year when I was there for Yom
Well,
Kippur and the Alkets again.
Thank God you're still here. Let me tell you, since
That's not mystic. No.
yeah, since Hannah has brought that up, I don't know if everybody heard it. I'll just repeat it very briefly so that the people on the recording, if they didn't pick up the sound, Hannah said that when she was 17, she was here for a year and learned some Hebrew. She went back to Australia, and on that first Yom Kippur, she read all the Al-Chaitz in Hebrew and said, yep, I've done that, I've done that, and I've done that, and I've done that one. And she was convinced she was going to do them all again. And she was convinced she wasn't going to survive till the next Yom Kippur. Baruch Hashem, there's been a few Yom Kippurs since you were 17. Hannah, I won't ask you exactly how many. And you're still here, Baruch Hashem. But let me just, on the back of that, say one thing. And I used to have this in my machzor, and I think I've still got it in the machzor that I use every year. Each year, at the end of Yom Kippur, I used to write on a piece of paper two things. One thing between man and man, which I had not been very good at in the previous year, and that I was going to try and do better at. And one thing between man and God that I was going to do something better at. And the following year, and I used to put it in the machzor, in Kol Nidre. After Yom Kippur, I would write it out. Recently, in the last 20 years. I did it every year. And much like Hannah when she was 17, I would open my machzor at the next Kol Nidre, and I would be confronted with these two things. And at the end of Yom Kippur, I could write out the same two things each year. And not always, but sadly, that's human nature. But I only tried to keep one, right? And that's my advice. My advice is don't try and run before you can walk. Pick one thing. I'll tell you one thing that I did once. I wrote once, and this was quite interesting. One year, I wrote that the thing that I want to improve between me and Hashem was to be on time for Shacharis. I was notorious for coming, a bit late, rush. I'd come in, like at Ashrei or something, and I said, that's it. I'm going to do better next year. That was Yom Kippur. Unfortunately, in the Kislev, my father passed away, and then I had to be on time. I had to be on time to get to the Omud or to say Kaddish. So, sometimes I don't know what to learn from that. I just tell you because it happened. All right. So don't think, Hannah, that you're going to be able to not do all the Al-Chet. Pick a couple that you.
The fact that even if God knows we're not going to be perfect next year, He still gives us credit. And He still keeps us around for another year.
You know why? Because at that moment, when you said the Al-Chet, right, you really did want to stop doing them. You might not have even thought it subconscious. You might have thought, there's no way I'm not going to do this. But actually you wanted to. And that remember, we said it already. We said it already earlier on in UNETANEH TOKEF. Let's find it. V'tizkor kol hanishkachot. He remembers everything that we've forgotten. And for that moment, you might have even forgotten, but for that moment, that sincerity was there. I'm sure of it, convinced of it. Let's go to where we're up to. We are now up to, last week, we did Ki kishimcha ken tilatecha. So is your name, is your praise. And we got to the part where we were talking, we were about to start Adam Yisodo me'afar v'sofo le'afar. Okay, translated in my art scroll as A man's origin is from dust and his destiny is back to dust. We don't get any more basic than that. You know, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That's us. We're made from the dust. We will end up in the dust. Now, the next whole bunch of things, which for me is I think I said this to you last week. This is one of the most emotional moments of the whole of Yom Kippur for me, because this is speaking about the fragility of man, and the metaphors that are given here are beautiful. They're all based on Tanakh, and we'll have a quick look at them, and we'll also have a little look at what they might mean to us in the modern day. These are to give out later on. So let's start with the first one. Mashul kecheres hanishbar. Okay, have you got that? Yeah, we've done. But nafsho yavi lachmo, we did that last week. You've got to work for a living. Next, mashul. It is a parable. What are we likened to? What are we human beings likened to? First one, kecheres hanishbar, translated on the screen as a broken potsherd.
A broken what?
A shard. A shard. A broken piece of cheres. Do you know what cheres is? Cheres is
earthenware, isn't it?
Pottery.
Ceramic.
Earthenware.
Pottery. It's the most basic. It's the most basic material that is used for as a vessel. If you look in all the archaeological digs, what they find, you know, all those little pieces of broken pottery, that's cheres. Okay, kli cheres, earthenware. Today, everything is glazed and what have you, but the pure earthenware, what's it made of? Clay. It's made of clay, right? Where does clay come from?
The earth.
The ground, the earth. It's the most basic type of material. It was the cheapest material, which is why there was so much of it. When you go to all these archaeological sites, there's tons of the stuff, right? Broken pieces of broken shards of pottery, and we are likened to this broken pottery. Now, there's a source for this, two sources that we bring, one in Jeremiah, one in Isaiah. Now, one of the things about a earthenware vessel in halakha, there's one thing very special about it. Unspecial, really, but it can't be kashered. Very good. It cannot be kashered. Once it's broken, once it's trafed, right? You can't kasher it. Why?
Because it
absorbs. Remember, we were talking about this in the Shmuel Shiur this week about bliya, about how a vessel becomes treif. It absorbs the treifus. Well, earthenware, unglazed earthenware, is so porous that it absorbs all the impurities, and it can never be purified. There's nothing you can do with it. Not only that, this is an interesting halakha, and this happened to me once. If you buy or make a chanukiah of any material, you can use it over and over again, right? You may have a silver one, you may have a brass one, you may have a glass one, right? You can use those little thingamajigs. You can use them over and again, except an earthenware one. You can only use an earthenware chanukiah once. Because, and I bought one once. I didn't know this halakha when I bought it. I bought it a number of years ago here in Israel, well before I made Aliyah. It was a beautiful thing. It was a piece of Jerusalem stone, like the Kotel, and sticking out of the wall were little brass hooks, and in each of the 8 or 9, because of the shamas, the 9 hooks was a tiny little earthenware jug, and it looked beautiful, and I really loved it, and I bought it, and And I used it the first year. And you know what happened after the first year? It was black because of the oil. I put the oil in and I'd put the wick in. The whole thing was black and it was horrible. And I didn't know the halacha then, but it was mius. It was nasty. But the halacha is you can only use an earthenware once for the same reason. So this idea of the broken shard, it's not just that it's broken, it's the material itself that's broken. We are a broken piece of the cheapest, rubbishiest, impurest, impossible to cure piece of pottery. It's a really depressing thought that we are this a mashul kecheres hanishbar. And the Radak says it, and the Ibn Ezra both say what I've just said. The earthenware is cheap, easily cracked, and once shattered cannot be restored to its original integrity, unlike metal. Human life shares this fragility. Rav Kook, going to the more modern idea, says that brokenness is not only loss. What else can be broken? Your heart. Your heart can be broken.
Spirit.
Yeah, your spirit can be broken. Your heart can be broken. The Rav Kook speaks about lev nishbar, a broken heart. Now, if you imagine, and this is pure Rav Kook. Rav Kook was an amazing person because he combined incredible spirituality. If you read Rav Kook's writings, they're really difficult to understand. Probably Hannah can understand them because she's in that. I find them dead hard to understand because they're very spiritual. He speaks in very lofty terms, and yet he was utterly practical. He was the one that went out into the fields to pray to the workers in the.
He was a rabbi. He was not on my board.
Yeah, he was. Faye,
I'm
switch
so
off, please.
I was switching up, but I wanted to see what you're doing there. Okay, turn it.
Thank you. Right, that was very confusing. Right, so Rav Kook was very practical, and yet he was very spiritual. He was an amazing man, and he always spoke about divine light. That was one of his things. Now, imagine you have an earthenware vessel, and you put a crack in it. What does a crack let through?
Water.
Lets through the lights. Now, you would say to me, if you've got a crack in your earthenware vessel, what will happen? And I'll say, well, all the contents will fall out. That's because I'm a very negative person. Rav Kook, on the other hand, says, no, that lets the light in. And a broken heart, a lev nishbar, a broken heart lets the divine light in. And so we have to be, says Rav Kook, like the cheres hanishbar. We have to have a heart that is cracked like this broken pottery to allow Hashem's divine light in. I think that's a beautiful idea because it turns the whole thing on its head. The idea of us being like a broken piece of pottery, which is the schmattiest thing you can possibly get, and just chuck it in the bin. No, said Rav Kook. No, that if you've got a lev nishbar like that, it lets the divine light in. It's a beautiful idea. Rabbi Sachs says, mortality's fragility pushes us to fill the vessel with meaning now, not later. Now, this whole section of these mashalim, these metaphors, are all about urgency. And Rav Sachs's idea that the fact that we do have this idea of fragility and things are very fast and who knows what's round the corner, is a message to us to fill the now with meaning and not leave it for later and say, you know what, I'll do it later. No, if something needs doing, do it now because you don't know what's later. So mashul kecheres hanishbar, that's the first one. Man is likened to a broken shard. Next one, Chatzir yavesh. Chatzir yavesh. A withered piece of grass. Like withered grass. And again, we haven't got time to show you the psukim, but there's a pasuk in Yeshayahu. There's also psukim in Tehillim and in Eov, which refer to withered grass. Yeshayahu says that all flesh is like grass. Vitality peaks quickly and then dries. You know, we were talking, Leslie, we were talking with Marcus and Heavy the other day when we were talking about the audience that we're trying to reach here. We recognize that my audience is not at the peak of its vitality, right? Our audience of our shiurim, what's the average age of the attendees at my shiurim? You know, it isn't 25 and 30. We are, all of us, past our peak of vitality, and then we all get dried up and withered like a piece of grass. One sec. And so Yeshayahu says, this is in contrast to the word of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which stands forever and is never worn out, right? The words that HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to Avraham Avinu, to Moshe Rabbeinu, to all the prophets are as relevant today as they were then. There's no drying out. We, as human beings, our vitality may fade. We may not be as strong as we were. We may not be as sharp as we were. Our words may not be as relevant as they used to be. But Torah says the Mitzudah here, it's a beautiful expression. Human splendor fades. Torah anchored values endure. I'll say that again because it's so nice. Human splendor fades, but Torah anchored values endure. Yes, Hannah.
I was going to say, having taken into account what you said, we forget that Rabbi Akiva only started to learn to read at the age of 40. And Rabbi Akiva became the great Tanna. Yeah,
that is true.
So, yeah, the fact that we're past 25 doesn't...
I didn't for 1 minute say that, you know, we shouldn't be learning. But
I'm saying
we do have to confront our... Yeah, we do wither.
Realistic.
Some wither more than others and quicker than others, but we all wither eventually. Listen to what Nechama Leibovitz, for those who don't know, that was the Mitzudah. Nechama Leibovitz, who was a 20th century modern Israeli scholar, highly regarded in the modern Orthodox world, and highly disregarded in more right-wing circles, says this: the point is not nihilism, it's recalibration. Invest in what outlasts seasons, such as ethics, covenant, and community. It's the same idea. It's that which is durable that we should be investing our energies in, not that which is a passing fade and fad. Jonathan and I were walking the other day, and we saw this lady walking, didn't we? And she had flared trousers and platform heels, right? And she looked like she could have jumped out of my photograph album from 1970, right?
Like 60s.
Yeah, it was comical. It was comical because no doubt she thought she was dead modern, and of course, you know, Ein chadash tachat hashemesh. You know, everything comes, it fades away. Yeah, it comes again. But what we need to come.
Johnny, doesn't withered grass grow again?
Withered grass, I suppose it does. Yes, I suppose it does grow again if you water it properly. I guess it does. The takeaway message is that we should channel our energy into commitments. This is a nice expression that I picked up from somewhere. I didn't write out where I got it from. Can't remember now. Channel your energy into commitments with shelf life, right? And the examples: learning, kindness, relationships, things that don't dry out with time. So that's the idea of the withering grass. Now, the next one's very similar. The next one is Ketzitz Novel. like a wilting flower. A wilting flower. Again, in Yeshayahu, it's mentioned. Now, the Malbim was a 19th century commentator. The Malbim says that the tzitz, what was the tzitz, first of all, before we come to the Malbim? What was the tzitz in the Torah? Where do we read the word tzitz?
Was it the Kohen Gadol or Johnny?
Yes, very good, Johnny. What particular part of the Kohen Gadol?
Was it not his apron?
Is
No, yeah,
what?
The cloak he wore.
No, not his cloak.
No, it's on his face. It was,
On his forehead.
Ah,
It-
yeah.
I don't know what you'd call it. It was the head plate, not the
Band.
turban.
Headband.
Their head plates, and it was called the tzitz. And the Malbim says that the tzitz is the flashiest bit of the flower. It's the color of the flower. So if you imagine, imagine a bright, I don't know, a rose. Okay, it's that beautiful colored petals. If you imagine a poppy, it's that bright red. He says that's the tzitz. Now, presumably, he gets that from this golden plate that was on the Kohen Gadol's forehead, which presumably shone. And he says that the Malbim says that this flower, this colored flower, that's the bit that fades the first, right? It's not the stem that wilts first. It's the petals, the flower, the bright stuff wilts the fastest. And the Ibn Ezra says something which I think a modern expression would be all that glitters
It's not gold.
gold. The Ibn Ezra says what dazzles first fades first. So, something shines brightly and fades. When I read that, I thought of fireworks. When you have you let off a firework, oh, it dazzles like crazy. You think, wow, look at that. And 5 seconds later, it's gone. And, you're 50 quid's worth of, so's your money. Yeah. Although, have you ever thought of a bigger waste of money than fireworks? I don't think there is there?
I grew up in Coney Island every Tuesday night with a fireworks.
Yeah,
shows.
every Tuesday
All my
night?
childhood, every Tuesday night.
In Ada what?
In Coney Island.
Just for stamp like that?
Summer. From like Memorial Day to Labor Day.
We had it once a year, didn't we, Leslie? Bonfire night. Bonfire night. That was a bit later, but that came on later, I think, yeah? Bonfire, when we were kids, you had fireworks and bonfire night. Anyway, that's what came to my mind when I read this Ibn Ezra. Rav Soloveitchik says about this, Judaism privileges the covenantal self over the aesthetic self. Right, now that's quite a mouthful. What does it mean? It means, and he understands that we wouldn't understand it because he's too clever for us, so he actually tells us what he means. He means beauty is welcome, but without covenant, it evaporates.
Now they do it Friday, but this is how
Coney Island, I'll read you this. Coney Island and fireworks go hand in hand, are a New York City summer tradition. There will be firework displays every Friday night from June 23rd to September 1st at approximately 9:45, weather permitting. Well, there you are. What a waste of money.
Tuesday night
Oh, mate.
So,
Johnny, when they're saying this withering grass and the fading flower,
1 second,
surely,
please. Jackie, I can't hear you. Speak up.
surely they're alluding to skin beauty, or as you get older, your features get older. But if you learn Torah, you'll improve.
Indeed, that's exactly what he's saying. He's saying that although physical beauty may wane as we get older, if your character is built on Torah values, not only does it not fade, it's like old wine. It gets better with age. I don't know about you, but I certainly feel a much more complete person as I've got older than I look back at my, I'm embarrassed when I look back at my, it's maturity. That's right. We look back at the things that we did and, I can only speak for myself, but I'd rather look forward than backwards. Let's put it that way. So it's, Rabbi Soloveitchik says, beauty is welcome, but without covenant, it evaporates. Okay, and if you think about relationship, a man and woman relationship, okay, I've always struggled with this idea of love at first sight, right? Because love at first sight is not really love at first sight, is it?
Lust.
It's lust at first sight. That's exactly what it is, right? Because what is the beauty of a person? The beauty of a person, is the personality, is the, right? Okay, the physical attraction is also important. I'm not saying it isn't, but the more one matures into a relationship, and it doesn't have to be, you know, a romantic relationship. It can be a platonic friend relation. The more a relationship matures between two people, the deeper that relationship becomes, and the more beautiful it becomes. It may not be physically beautiful as it was 50 years ago, 20 years ago, whatever, but the beauty of it is not just skin deep. And that's what this is saying, that the flower, that bright color, think of it as a firework, whoosh, and then it's gone. And then it's gone. And that's that. On the face of it, what this is saying is we are like that firework. You know, we're very vulnerable, we're very fragile. But I'm trying here with this not to be so negative, because you could be very easily negative with this prayer and saying, we're finished, we're nothing, we're this, we're that. And they are all that. But digging deep, you actually find beauty in each of the metaphors. And that's why I find this such a beautiful and powerful prayer. So we've said kecheret hanishbar, like a broken shard. On the surface of it, that means we are literally garnished. You know the joke about a garnished, yeah? Great joke. It's one of my favorite jokes. The guy comes up in shul, right? A guy comes, and the Rav gets up and he says, Ich bin a garnished, I'm a nobody. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, please forgive me, I'm a nobody. I've done so many terrible things. I'm a garnished. And he gets down. This fellow comes up from the back and he stands up and he says the same thing. Ich bin a garnished, I'm a garnished. The fellow next to him says, look who thinks he's a garnished. No?
Janitor or something.
Whatever, anyway.
So no, I've got a better one.
Kecheres hanishbar, we are garnished. But
I've got a better one.
If we take Rav Kook's idea, it lets the light in. Right, the next one, Chatzir Yavesh.
Come on, Jackie, what is it?
The definition of nouveau cuisine, a garnish with a garnish.
So then we had the withering grass. We had the withering grass, and then the tzitz novel, the flashy flower that wilts. Next one, uketzel over, and like a shadow that passes. Now, this is very apropos to Yom Kippur because of Sefer Yonah. We haven't yet got to it in our Shiur because it's in chapter 4. We've only just done the first 2 chapters. And in chapter 4, I'll give you a bit of a spoiler since you won't have read Yonah ever before. Well, at least not since last year, anyway. In chapter 4, what happens is that Yonah is sat in the Mad Schwitz, and he's so hot and it's so terribly hot, he just wants to die. Kodesh Baruch Hu makes a miracle, and a kikayon plant comes up, grows overnight like Jack and a beanstalk, right, with these huge leaves. And he sat there under these huge leaves with this shadow in this shade, and he says, Machaya. And then what does that cruel HaKadosh Baruch Hu do? He brings a worm, and overnight it kills the kikayon plant. And Yonah's sat there in the Schwitz again, and he says, I want to die. Okay? This kikayon plant lasted for 24 hours. And the shade that he had, which was so beautiful, had gone within 24 hours. Think about a shadow, right? You can be walking down the street. Those of you who live in Ir Yamim and you have to schlep from Ir Yamim to shul, if you come here, right? Where'd you try and walk? In the shadow of the buildings. so that you're in the shade. But you might find a tree to be under the shadow of. But what if you're under the shadow of say a cloud, and that cloud moves, right? The hot sun's there again. The shade is very transient. That's the idea of this metaphor, that the shade is transient, and not only is it transient, it's not in our power. We have no control over that. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu had control over the kikayon. We don't have any control over over shadow, and the idea is that we don't have any control over the external factors that affect our lives. The shade is something which gives us benefit, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu brings the shade, we feel benefit, like we did like Yonah did, but it's fleeting. Okay, the Gemara in Brachot says that this shadow that we're talking about here in this Tefilah, although it doesn't mention this Tefilah because of course this Tefilah postdates the Gemara, but the idea is the Gemara says that a fleeting shadow is not a wall's shadow which stays in one place, and not a tree's shadow which lingers, but a bird's shadow, the shadow of a bird. Now you can picture the metaphor here. A bird's shadow lifespan isn't just short; it's unpredictably short. Unpredictably short. We do not know. We do not know. The Radak says shadow has no substance. It's time without thickness. And there's a Heschel, I don't quite know where I found this from, but I must have found it somewhere last week because I've written it down. The antidote to thinner time is radical amazement. There's another one for you to write down, Faye. The antidote to thin time is radical amazement.
What does that mean?
Okay, what it means is that time is very fleeting. And in order to overcome that concept that time is fleeting and it's gone, is that we have to take every moment as if it were an amazement for us. So every time you see a sunrise, a beautiful sunrise or a beautiful sunset, be amazed. Last night, I don't know who any of you saw the eclipse. I saw it. Be amazed. Don't say, I've seen an eclipse before. I've seen a sunset before. I will never, ever see a more beautiful sunset than I saw in Kruger National Park when I went on safari in South Africa. It was utterly stunning. I can't even begin to describe it. I'll never see another sunset as beautiful as that, I'm sure. Doesn't mean that every other sunset that I see, I should say, wasn't as good as that one. No, we have to have radical amazement. We have to, and tell you who else speaks about this as well, is Rabbi Nathan Lopez Cardozo. He speaks about being amazed at all the miracles that HaKadosh Baruch Hu does for us on a daily basis. So he says the antidote to thin time. What's thin time? Time which passes very quickly, like the shadow of a bird passes very quickly. Make sure that you make the most of every single moment. And we've spoken about this, haven't we? Who knows what's around the corner, right? Every simcha that you have, right? There's a friend of ours in Manchester, be honest, we make fun of this lady. We say to her, you know what? She wouldn't miss the opening of an envelope. Right, she goes to everything, whatever simcha's on, whatever kiddush is on, and she schleps all over the place. And we're wrong and she's right, because she makes the point to go to every single simcha. Right? I can't be bothered. I'm too, I'm tired, and I don't, I won't be missed, and blah blah blah. It doesn't matter where you'll be missed or not. You are the one that's missing. If there's something to go to, if there's something good, chaperein. That's what this is telling you. We are like a tzeil over. That tzeil is something positive. It's something beautiful. If you're in the Schwitz, You're grateful for that shadow. Make the most of it. That's what this is telling you. Make the most of every moment. Next one.
The older you get, the quicker it goes, Johnny.
Say again, Johnny.
The older you get, like Linda says every Friday morning, blimey, it's Shabbos again.
Yeah.
It's true. Time flies.
Yeah. When you're young, time goes very slowly. When you're older, it runs away. Yes.
Yeah.
So the next one, Cha'av Kala. Ka'av Kala. What is Av with an ayin? With an ayin is a cloud. It's like a type of cloud. Anan is a cloud normally. Av also means a cloud. What does Av mean? If something is Av, Hannah, what is it? Thick. That's right, thick. And what is a cloud? It's a thickness. It's thick. It's the thickness of the atmosphere. Av is a cloud. Ka'av kala, like a cloud. Beautiful translation here on the screen. A vanishing cloud. What does the art scroll say? How does the art scroll translate it?
I've got Anan.
Anan kala, same thing. Av kala, yeah. Anan kala, Anan and Av are the same thing. Yeah. Kala, yeah. And it says here, a dissipating cloud. That's another good translation. Yeah, I like this one, a vanishing cloud. Think about a cloud, those wispy little things, right? You look at it and it looks like it's got no substance. You look at it again, it's gone. It's past. You missed it, right? This is life. If you don't grab it, it's gone. It's gone. So like a vanishing cloud, Eov, the book of Job, which is one of the most difficult books of Tanakh to understand because it looks like HaKadosh Baruch Hu is playing nasty games with humankind. He says the book of Job starts with HaKadosh Baruch Hu speaking to the angels, saying, hey, look at my man down there, Eov, what a good guy he is. And the angels say, yeah, of course he's a good guy because everything's going well for him. Why don't you throw him a few curveballs and see what happens? So God says, all right. And he sends him all sorts of terrible things. And he stays solid and he stays solid until he throws him that much stuff that eventually he turns around to God and says, why are you doing this to me? And God turns around and says, because I'm God and you're a human being. And you'll never understand what I'm doing. And it's a very, very harsh book. But part of this book in Eov speaks about the idea of this transient nature of human life, like a vanishing cloud.
Johnny,
Rashi has a beautiful expression. When you look, certainly if you're in a place like Manchester, which is renowned for its cloud cover, okay? You know what they say about Manchester? If you can't see the Pennines, that's the mountain range just over the border into Yorkshire. If you can't see it, it must be raining. And if you can see it, it's going to rain. That was what we always used to say. So, but if you think about a cloud, think about cloud cover, not those little wispy ones, but, you know, good, solid Manchester cloud. You look up, what does it look like? It looks substantial, thick, right? Think about a fog, if you like. It looks, you know, in London back in the day before I was born, they used to have these smogs, right? They used to call them pea soupers, right? They were thick. You couldn't see more than 10 meters in front of you.
They had a dog with a torch in front.
Yeah, they couldn't see anything. But actually, what's it made of? Nothing. Air. You can go right through it. It has no substance. It looks solid, but actually, it has no substance. And Rashi says this. Rashi says, on this pasuk in Eov, Rashi says, the cloud looks massive, yet disperses into nothing. It is a lesson in the insubstantiality of appearances. In other words, don't be fooled by appearances. Something may look solid, it may look harsh, it may look hard, it may look substantial, but actually, don't be fooled by appearances. What's the expression? Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't, in Pirkei Avot, don't judge a can what's it? Al tistakel b'kankan ela masha b'tocho. Don't look at the container, but that which is inside the container. So
The proof of the pudding's in the eating.
yeah. So Rashi says this is a lesson for us on the insubstantiality. Kohelet says, what about Kohelet? What's the main word? If I had to say to you in Hebrew, tell me the Hebrew word that is the most commonly said and the most meaning in Kohelet. What is it?
Futility of futilities. Is it? No?
Correct. What's the Hebrew for that, Johnny?
Vanity.
Yeah, what's the Hebrew?
Vanity.
Havel, what is it?
Hevel.
Yeah.
Hevel havalim. Vanity of vanities. Rabbi Sachs explains to us beautifully what the word hevel actually means. Do you know what the word hevel means? We translate it as vanity, as futility, but actually the word hevel means a thin, wispy breath. So that is hevel. Because
when you talk and you see the
I didn't know that. That's the Hebrew word for that. I don't even know what the English word is for that. The vapor that you see. Hannah's just explained to us that when it's cold and you breathe out in the winter and you see the little wispy thing, that's called hevel in Hebrew, which makes perfect sense because that's what Rabbi Sachs says. Hevel is that thin breath. And I call havel, havelim, everything in the world is just a little breath. So here, what Kohelet Rabbah, the Midrash on Kohelet says, human plans are like vapor. They're like hevel. Human plans are very insubstantial, beautiful forms with little hold to them. It's the fragility, again, this idea of this fragility. But if you think about this, if you think about that hevel, that is what keeps us alive. That breath, that you are, whilst you still have hevel in you, whilst you still have a breath in you, you've still got some opportunities. So it's again a double-edged sword. And the next one, keruach noshavet. Now, ruach, I was thinking about this all day. Yeah, no, that's an exaggeration. I wasn't thinking about all day. I was thinking about it for quite a bit of time yesterday. Ruach noshavet. What's ruach? A wind. Noshavet, which is blowing. It's like a blowing wind, right? Now, isn't there a Bob Dylan? Blowing in the wind. Now, what are the lyrics to that? Come on, Faye, you're a Bob Dylan expert.
The answer, my friend.
The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. What does that mean? What did Bob Dylan mean when he said the answer is blowing in the wind? It means the answer is running away from us all. In other words, how many, this is what he asks in his song, isn't it? Must a man, exactly, right? Until he's considered a man. The answer, my friends, is blowing in the wind. In other words, who knows? Right? Blowing in the wind, the idea of this wind blowing is, again, a double-edged sword, because a breeze down on the shore, if you walk down on the beach and you feel that lovely sea breeze come, that's very refreshing. But what about if you have a tornado or a hurricane or whatever the correct meteorological term is, a gale, a storm? Not so pleasant. So again, it's like a wind. Not what kind of wind are you going to have? I don't mean flatulence. I mean, what kind of wind is your life going to be? Is your life going to be a refreshing breeze for the people around you? Or are you going to be a tornado and a hurricane which damages everything in its wake? So you have a choice here, you human being. You are like a ruach noshavet. Your choice. You can be like a refreshing breeze to everybody around you, right? Wouldn't you love to be described as somebody who is a refreshing person? He's such a refreshing person, right? That's a beautiful thing to say. Would you like to be described as a hurricane or a tornado, which damages everything in its wake, right, and leaves wreckage and destruction behind it. It's the same expression, ruach noshavet, right? You can choose. That's what this is telling us. You, man, obviously on the surface of it, what's it telling you? It's the fragility of man, like we said. But the deeper message here is we have a choice how to live our life, right? And we have this choice all the time. Jonathan and I had a very frustrating experience this morning, right? We went to the post office together,
That's fun.
right? Right. We went to the post office and we said before we even got there that this lovely lady who's in the behind the thingy, she has only one default position. And the answer is no. Right. I was his spokesman because he had to do it in Hebrew. And I didn't even get the sentence out before she'd said no. With a smile. Right. Now,
Poor Jonathan.
so, you know, are we going to be?
You should have had me come with you.
Yeah, no.
So the message here of ruach noshavet is very powerful, very powerful. Now, the other thing that I thought about yesterday when I was thinking about ruach noshavet, and this is one of the beauties of Hebrew. Philip always tells us that there are, I can't remember now whether he said 60 or 6 times more English words than there are Hebrew words. Hebrew words can mean lots of different things. What else can ruach mean? As well as wind. Spirit. Spirit. Yeah. Spirit. We talk about ruchnius. Yeah.
Ruach HaKodesh.
The spirit that's in us is also blowing through us. We have that ability to have Ruach HaKodesh. What did HaKadosh Baruch Hu do when he created mankind? He blew a spirit into Adam HaRishon. That Ruach that we have, that godliness that we all have, is also a Ruach. So this Ruach Noshavet is also an allusion here to our spirituality. So on the one hand, we're fragile. We're like a passing wind. I don't mean passing wind as in passing wind. I mean a wind that passes. That just came out wrong. Or it can mean that we have a choice how to behave, to be refreshing or to be damaging. But it also means that we have a spirit of HaKadosh Baruch Hu inside of us. Avak poreach. And the next one, like dust that scatters. Now, there's another song that was driving me crazy today. A dust that scatters in the wind. It's a 60s song. Come on, Faye, help me out here. There's a lyric to a song that speaks about dust that scatters in the wind, and I can hear it in my head, but Mr. Musical over here, I can't pull it out. So, again, the idea, what happens if you had dust that scatters? You've got, imagine stardust, right? Gold dust, and you've got it, and you're looking after it so carefully, and a big wind comes along, it's gone, and you can never get it back. That's the thing about this. Now, that to me the allegory here, the strong sort of pictorial allegory, is something which you're scrambling after, right? Imagine this is gold dust. You're scrambling after, you can never get it back. It's gone. It's finished.
What we learned from Beis Yaakov as little girls about Lashon Hara.
Oh,
Feathers of a chicken, pluck it, go out, scatter it.
Try again.
A few hours later, go back and get it. Once you speak Lashon Hara, you can never get it back.
nice
It's
idea.
gone.
Let me say that out loud for the recording. Goldie says that she learned in Beis Yaakov when she was a little girl last week that Lashon Hara, speaking bad of people, is like plucking a chicken. You get the feathers and you throw them in the wind, and then you can never get them back again. Once it's said, It cannot be unsaid. Nothing more true than that. That's a lovely idea. So avak poreach is dust that's in the wind, and this is our lives. And again, what's it telling us? A bit like the earlier things we said. Don't miss an opportunity, because once it's gone, it's gone. You know, we used to see that in the shops, didn't you?
Yeah.
Big sale, you know. Once it's gone, it's gone, right? So
Lieberman special.
Lieberman special, yeah. And the final one, now, I'm going to ask Faye to cast her mind back about 4 or 5 years when we did this shiur the first time. You were here in this room, Faye, and we spoke about this last one. Chalom kechalom yauf, like a dream that flies away. Imagine you're asleep and you have this dream, and you have a dream and it just flies away from you. Now, I'm going to ask Faye to cast her mind back, because I'm going to ask her if she remembers what the mashal that I gave of my chalom yauf. Can you remember? You don't remember. You'll remember it when I tell it you. Okay, this is my chalom yauf. This is my dream that flies away. You'll all have your own one. Okay? I am playing for England, cricket, right? I'm playing cricket for England. I'm batting at Lords, which is the home of cricket. I'm on 99 not out.
Is it an Ashes day?
It's in the Ashes. In 99 not out. And the bowler comes along and he bowls a rank long hop outside leg stump, and it's there for the taking. And I'm just about to whack it to the boundary for 4 to get my century at Lords to be on the honours board.
And you wake up.
And you wake up and you no, it's gone. You're desperate not to wake up and to lose that dream. That's my recurring
That's the ashes.
Now, when I said that last time, Faye, how do I know? I don't remember this. I actually listened to the shiur recently. But Faye said, I knew it would be something to do with cricket. I'll have to do one which is to do with music. That's what Faye said. So that's our chalom yauf. If you imagine that, I mean, you'll all have your own dream that you just don't want to end. And yet it's out of your grasp. You just can't get hold of it. And that is what life is about. And that is what this is telling us. We are incredibly fragile. And we end with, and we shout this last bit out. Va'ata hu melech el chai v'kayam. You, Hashem, are the King, living and eternal God. In other words, the total contrast to us. We are like all of those things, like the broken shard, like the withering grass, like the fading flower, like the cloud that passes by, the shade that goes away, the dust in the wind, and like the dream that is a fleeting dream that flies away. That's what we are. But you, Hashem, are there forever. And that is the peak of UNETANEH TOKEF. That is where we've now come through all those emotions, from being on trial to praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to realizing our fragility, and to recognizing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the only living God. And that, if you only could do what, for me, I can only speak for myself, if I could only do one prayer on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah, it wouldn't be Ne'ilah, it wouldn't be Kol Nidrei, it would be UNETANEH TOKEF. To me, it has everything in there that you could spend hours on. Well, we've managed to spend 5 hours on it, just
Johnny.
So,
Johnny.
Yes, Jackie. We can't hear you.
It's based on this prayer.
Say that again. We lost you.
Would you say the Yiska service is based on this prayer? Because it says, in the morning a man flourishes, in the evening he's like withers like the grass.
Yes, it's the same idea. Absolutely. The Yiska prayer does mention the same allegory of the fragility of man and the fact that it withers in the evening. Yes, it's this same idea. For me, the beauty of all of this is the plots that we've spoken about. All these things that you can take out that are positive, that give us choices. And I think that for me is the beauty of UNETANEH TOKEF. I have send it out on the Shiur group for those of you who want to print it out, but I've provided for everybody here a one-page sheet that you can put inside your machzor at UNETANEH TOKEF to help you concentrate your minds on UNETANEH TOKEF when it comes. I will send it out for you to print out those that aren't here.
Next week too?
We're not going to do UNETANEH TOKEF next week because we've finished it, but we will do something else. Let me just stop the recording now.
I would think to sort of differ a little bit.
Go on, we've not finished. Ein kitzvah. You're right.
I'll tell you why, because when you were doing this, the phrase that came into my mind was "Softavar kol nishma, et Elokim yira ve'mitzvotav shmo ki zeh kol ha'adam," and that's the last pasuk in Kohelet.
Yes.
It all happens to be one that's in my Birkat HaMazon, yeah. And to me, while I can agree with everything that you said, to me, the most important thing in the first part is the transience, our transience. And the second part seems to be God's impermanence. And therefore, yeah, it says here also, V'samnu v'shmeinu karata shimcha. You called us by your name. Yeah, it seems to.
I absolutely agree with everything you've said. However, I stand by my comment that this is the end of UNETANEH TOKEF because we closed the arc there. This is the introduction to Kedusha. So you're absolutely right, though. It follows on. Ein kitzvah lishnotecha. There's no. It follows on from Atahu Melech El Chai V'Kama. I agree with you. Right, I'm going to stop the recording there.